Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to the Copilot Show. My name is Mahesh Chand, your host. I'm founder of CSharp.com or aka CSharpCorner. If you have been watching this show for a while, this is our fifth episode, and all previous episodes have already been recorded and posted on CSharp.com. So if you want to go watch back previous episodes, go to CSharp.com and go to videos, or you can also go to live shows. As you know, this show is all about Copilot, GitHub Copilot, and it's for software engineers, developers, anybody uses, writes code, do testing, write documentation. It's for you. And today we are going to cover code refactoring. So let me add my slides here. So today is actually episode 5. This episode 4 is wrong here. I should have fixed that, but this is a code refactoring using Copilot. All right. So when you think of a code refactoring, uh, just quickly here, what is code refactoring? Right? If you have old code, you have existing code, old code. The code refactoring is a process of redoing the code, refixing it, restructuring the code without changing the functionality. Its functionality stays same. Nothing changes here. The code, whatever it does the same thing. You're not removing the functionality, but what you're doing is you are rewriting the code so it's more readable and maintainable. And the reason for that is sometimes, I've been writing software for the last 20 some years. What happens when you write software 5 years ago is, first of all, you write differently. There are different versions of languages, there are different syntaxes, but over the years, everything changes. So you want to rewrite the code. And that is what refactoring is. So, what are different parts of refactoring? You can reformat the code. You want to optimize the code. You can clean up some of the code. For example, remember when we are in college or young developers, we write code if more code that could easily be put in a modules, put in a functions, put in other classes, right? So that's all that is. And then again, making code more concise means right now, if you compare the C Sharp 2.0 or 4 C Sharp 5 versus C Sharp 12, the same code can be written in smaller number of lines. I mean, small, fewer number of lines compared to the previous code. You can also modularize code. Also, sometimes some developers, if they're writing code in one complex code units, you can break them down and also upgrade code. So those are all things comes under code refactoring. um, what are the benefits? As I talk about, obviously it improves readability, and that's very important because when we're working in large projects where there are 10 people working, 20 people working in different teams, code readability matters, right? Because it's easy to understand the code. And again, same thing with maintainability, right? You want to maintain the code, find a bug, fix bugs. It obviously boosts performance. One of the reason is boost performance means there may be slow code somewhere. There may be a loop that's messing the performance, right? There may be a something like exceptions coming up, or there's a deadlock there, right? All these things matter. And then obviously it helps increase code usability, expandability, and also reduce. End of the day, you're reducing technical debt. So those are some of the benefits. So anybody who's a senior developer, they should definitely pay attention to code refactoring always, because if your team, or you're leading a team, or you are an architect, or you are, your job is to deliver code to the clients, code refactoring should be a part of your weekly tasks. It used to be hard back in the day, but before that, let me also, when you should refactor your code, when is the good time to refactor the code? So before adding new features, so let's say you are going to add a new feature and you already have existing code in the area you're working on, or there a file or a module or a function, you want to look at that. After the product launch, let's say you have something to deliverables, you already built the product, it's already launched, it's up and running. Now you can say, you know what, I want to take a little bit housekeeping and I want to look at some of the code refactoring and fix some of the code. when following the rule of three. What is rule of three? Is that there is something, if you're doing multiple times, repeat again and again. Like if I've written similar code 3 times, my rule is I have a rule of two, but everybody suggests three. So if you're writing same thing 3 times, maybe you want to take that code out and put in a separate module, separate function or method. In C Sharp, it's a method, right? Or a class, whatever it works. If you're doing code reviews, yes. If you are a developer and you're sending your code for review, you want to make sure you refactor your code. And when code smells, there's duplicate code, bad code, all that. Performance issue is there, or when there's tech migration, obviously, when you're migrating from one version to other version. And when you see that there's a lot of bugs coming, that's when you want to refactor your code. Hopefully that makes sense. So we covered in this what is code refactoring, how it helps, right? Benefits of code refactoring, and when to refactor a code. So now I'm going to now share my screen. So I'm going to go into Visual Studio and just jump here. So I'm going to show now how Copilot obviously is one of the best tool as a software developer can ask for, and you can do refactoring. Was hard back in the day. Okay, back in the day without these tools, code refactoring was hard. But all these latest tools like Visual Studio, VS Code, IntelliJ, all these new IDEs, they have code refactoring features already. However, now with Copilot, this has become a much easier. It's like literally, if I want to refactor code, I don't have to spend too much time on refactoring code. All I can do is just use my GitHub Copilot. Um, if you don't know, if I'm in here, Visual Studio Community Edition, it's a free one. You don't need to pay for that. If you're using that or VS Code or any IDE, I'm sure your GitHub Copilot is activated here. As you can see, I have my GitHub Copilot activated here. So this is some of the code. It's old code. It's not really old code, but I have written it so it will look like it's an old code, right? And it has some issues. It doesn't have bugs. It's not slow. It's small. The code is really small. It's not huge code. But I'm going to show you a few things how you can use um, you know you can use Copilot to refactor this code. And as I said in my slide, let me quick open. A few things you can do is format code, right? First thing is code formatting is a part of code refactoring, performance, module change, putting in that. So this could apply to any of the existing code you already have. One thing I would be careful is if you are working on a large project, you want to be careful with the code refactoring, because it might change a lot of things that may affect other areas of the code. So you want to be very careful with that. So you want to target either one file at a time. That's ideal. So if you have, let's say, a huge project with, say, hundreds of files, maybe you want to just target one file at a time, um, because that will be much easier unless you re-architect the whole code. Okay, I hope I'm making sense. Keep your questions ready. And if you are using Copilot for refactoring, I want to hear from you what you think. So let's get do some work here. So I have this class here. It's a author class. It has three simple properties: name, function, name, nationality, and age. This is my main method. I add a collection of authors here, right? And then I add some manual authors here, A, B, C. And then all it does is creates a text file, and then it just goes and displays, writes all those authors to the text file, and then I read it, display on the console. And then also I search for a name, or I search for here position, right? So that's all it does. Nothing, very simple program, but idea here is to show you how Copilot can help refactor this code. So as I say, I launch my Copilot, right? Ask Copilot. Here I can ask anything. Can you review this code and suggest me what code refactoring options apply Yeah. I'm just asking. You don't have to ask if you already know what you want your Copilot to do. You can always do it yourself, but you don't know what you can do. You can also ask Copilot. So Copilot comes and says, okay, there are certain things you can say. You can say consolidate variable declarations. In the main method, there's a variable ABC that's declared separately. You can consolidate. Sure, you can put in one block, right? I can say variable ABC in one line. That's great. Object initializer syntax I can also use. So in our code, if you look here, what I've done is I have created the old way, right? I created author A dot name this, A dot this, the nationality this. I can just create just author object and using initializer in one line, right? That's kind of suggested here, as you can see, right? So I can literally create object author in one line here. You can look at the preview and then it will also embed that code, right? That's it has done. Let's see what else it says. Preview. It says number third, extract file IO operations into separate methods. So this is suggesting me that I can write a certain code block in a separate method. Okay, that will be outside of main. Handle IO exceptions. Okay, I don't have exception here. So it says code currently does not handle any exceptions. So I should add exception handling there as well. Using string interpolation, interpolation is the new way in C# to concatenate strings. I could literally do that as well in just one line. And then it's also saying there are few other suggestions as well, So as you can see, rather than me asking what needs to be fixed, you can first even ask Copilot and saying, hey, can you suggest me what can you fix here? So that's one way to do it. I hopefully you're getting something, you're learning something, which is very useful. To be honest, if you are a senior developer, you manage code, this is very useful. And you want to test your code, how your team members writing code, is it optimized, it is performant, is it high performance, is it a problem with bugs, issues? You can use Copilot for all these things. So I can say preview, so it shows me how I can do that, right? And then I can accept it. Boom. It didn't fix this, but I can also go and manually talk to this. So you get the idea, right? So I will just say right here, you can also pick a parts of code here. Can you fix below author objects and optimize them? Let's see what it does, right? Again, it's learning process. Sometimes your Copilot takes time to learn. Sometimes you have to teach it. And sometimes it may not work, right? Remember, it's all still learning. So as you can see, left side versus right side here. In the right side, it's creating author object as a one initializer, right? It's just in one line. And in the right side, I'm using the dot name property equal to this. So it has done what actually I asked him. So I'm going to say accept. So I accept here. As you can see now, my author objects are created here just in one line. That's very optimized, right? Now I'm going to ask this again, what it suggested a while ago. I mean, I'll say, can you add common functionality in separate methods? So what I'm doing is the code written in the file here, I'm going to move, then let's say writing, see what it does. So there you go, right? My goal is I want to move this code of writing to file, read from file, separate them. And what it does is, as you can see, it suggested that, okay, write author to file and read authors from file, right? So that's what I'm doing. So it also has done is created these two methods. Read author from file and file find author position. There's another I'm doing is I'm finding author with position, and then let's see what it does. So it has written suggested that. So boom. So you can see here it has created these three methods, new methods here. Write authors to file, read authors from file, and find author position. It has done that. So now as you can see, my code is more readable, maintainable, and it's clean. One thing I want to do also is which is it has not done is, can you add detailed comments to this code? Because comments help, right? It has readability, right? It can explain. Um, didn't understand look like it's writing only to the existing what I say cancel. It didn't get me. I'm going to please comment this entire program. Okay, I'm just asking her to add comments to the entire program, not just the new code I just wrote. First, it picked only new code. So see, it knows what code I'm working on, right? So you have to be specific. So now it's adding comments to that almost like all code blocks, right? There. So except it says define the author class. This says now it has commented every line, as you can see from here. So now I can read it better. Let's run this program. And as you can see, I have not changed anything in the functionality of this program. It does exactly what it was doing before. All I have done is made it more readable, made it more optimized. I added, move code out of the main method. That's all I have done, right? I'm going to do a few more things before I say, can you review this code to make sure it is using latest C# language and its syntaxes. So now what it will do is it's going to look at, okay, it's going to say what, so now it did all the things. It go through that class definition, author, list, string interpolation, file IO, comparison. It's comparing the blah blah. So it says overall the code is written using the latest C# language features that follows the recommended syntaxes. So this looks good. You can be very specific here as well. So if you know there is C# 12 and specific, you want to use certain features, and you can ask. That's kind of, so I just tested my code. Looks like it's written using latest version of C#. That's great. I can also say, what version of C# are you using? Let's see what it does. It say, okay, I don't have a specific version of this, but this is wrong. You can be specific. Can you check if this code is written using C# 12 or later? I think C# 12 is the latest version. Code you provide is not written using C# 12 or any later version. As of my knowledge, the latest version of C# is 9. See, so released in 2020. So this is the problem with Copilot, is that because some of the content it has is older, and sometimes, as you says, this is, it could be 6 months older. Sometimes it's trained on later versions. So this may not give you the latest version of the C# language. That means you have to do it manually. That is one of the challenges. But however, if you go to some other Gen AI tools, they can actually convert. So this is, you have to make a decision here, right? All right, so let me quick open my PowerPoint, and I'm going to see if we covered every topic here. As let's see, code refactoring. So what did we cover here? Let me see. We cover the reformat code, we optimize code, clean up repetitive tasks. We already covered that. We making more concise, modularized code, breaking up complex, upgrade code. So upgrade code is important. Say you have old code, it's written in C# 5, and you want to convert that to C# 9. You can ask it, and it's going to recommend you that. So with that said, I think I hope you learned something today. I really like this whole code refactoring features. And if you let me see some comments here, hopefully you're using some of them. Um, So let's see. Sarthak, hey, welcome Sarthak. Welcome back to here. Says with Copilot's able to generate code, how should C Sharp developer balance AI assistant with maintaining best coding practice and learning fundamental concepts? So what you can do is, Sarthak, that's a great question. You can first tell Copilot to learn from your projects. Okay. You can say, hey, this is, well, you can tell Copilot, can you learn my syntaxes, my coding practices, my standards, how I write code from my existing project? And then it will write based on what you have written in there actually. You can also say, can you look at the best practices? It will suggest some of the existing best practices. Maybe we will do one show just on best practices in um, you know how to write code, syntaxes, and so on and so forth. That we can do that too. You can also be specific. You can say use this guy is this types of best practices, use this kind of standards. You can have coding standards, you can mention them, right? You can also say, oh, I want to use this, um whatever, you come up with a design, say I want to use one of these whatever. You can feed data to it or pass it to it, or tell him no, it will actually try to learn and write your code based on that. It's very powerful, to be honest. More you talk to Copilot, more you teach Copilot, more you tell Copilot about what you want, what you're doing, and it's more. It takes time, but more it's gonna become friendly with you. It's like you have a junior assistant, researcher, developer sitting next to you, and you are giving them tasks. Over the time, that assistant becomes more and more knowledgeable about your habits, what you like, what you want, how do you write. It's the same thing. Copilot can do that, as well as it can bring content from outside. You can even say, oh, just make sure you get code samples only from, I don't know, Microsoft official documentation or C sharp language syntax. Whatever you tell it, it will actually try to match that. And it's a learning process. Again, it's Copilot is new, right? It's still learning. This has a lot of old data, a lot of GitHub data. It had copied a lot of C sharp code, C sharp corner code. So it has all the code, and from there it just goes and finding the code. Again, one thing I want to make sure is a clear warning is that if you're using some of the functionality that's not written publicly in the latest version of the latest language, it may not give you the latest code, so that you have to do it manually. It's gonna go bring you what's already out there written by other people, right? It doesn't really write. So when somebody says AI writes its own code, Gen AI especially, it's a false. It's just doesn't really write. What all these Gen AI tools have done is either you look at the Copilot or look at the OpenAI chat, or any chatbot out there, which is a Gen AI chatbot, Perplexity or Gemini. What they do is they have copied all the content from the internet, right? They've copied all the content, and then AI goes through them. They try to create from there, learn something, apply their logic. But that's what it is. But it can be very helpful for things like we're working on, like you just saw, code refactoring. Code refactoring used to take a lot of time. I remember you had to go through line by line, try to see what developers doing. Now this can actually help you move much faster. Vissal Van, welcome to the show. Yeah, so no worries, you're late. Next time, no worries. This video will be recorded and available on csharp.com and YouTube channel. You can watch it there. But I hope you learned something today. Again, I will see you next week, same time, for another episode of Copilot. And I think next episode we will cover, what are we covering, guys? Let me see. Next episode is unit testing, I think. So we'll cover one more feature of what you can do with Copilot. Thank you all.